Good evening.
A Somali referee at the Super Cup. Ireland pulling support from FIFA's president. La Liga inspecting a pitch for fungus. These are not the same story, but they share something, the gap between what the game promises and what it actually delivers. Football talks about itself as if it belongs to everyone. The plumbing tells you otherwise.
A Somali referee has officiated one of European football's biggest matches. Omar Artan took charge of the UEFA Super Cup between Paris Saint-Germain and Aston Villa on Wednesday, August 11th. He made history as the first Somali to referee the prestigious fixture. Artan has now spoken about his excitement at being given the assignment. He's Somalia's top referee. The appointment came despite missing out on selection for the 2026 World Cup. That tournament would have been another major milestone in his career. Ghana Soccernet reported this. A former Ukrainian naval officer who defected to Russia has been killed in a bomb attack. Russian sources say Robert Shayev died in the explosion. He switched sides in 2014. The claim comes as Kyiv has also targeted a Russian oil refinery. Shayev had been living in Russia for a decade after leaving Ukraine's navy. His death has not been independently confirmed. The attack is the latest in a series of strikes on Russian territory and individuals linked to Moscow's military operations. SBS Australia just reported this. Dozens of dead sharks have washed up along the New Jersey coastline. Visitors to the shore were stunned by the sight. One described it as odd. Wildlife officials in New Jersey say the discovery might be less mysterious than it first appears. They've been examining the animals. The sharks appeared over recent days along multiple beaches. Officials haven't said what species they were or given an exact count. They also haven't explained what might have caused the deaths, though they suggest there could be a straightforward explanation rather than something unusual happening in the water. Independent reported this. A volcano in Sicily has forced airports to shut down. Mount Etna has been erupting and sending ash across the region. Hundreds of flights have been cancelled. An expert said Etna erupts often, but this time it's released far more ash than usual. The disruptions have affected tens of thousands of travelers over the past week. The cancellations have left people stranded and unable to reach their destinations. Sicily is a popular destination, so the impact has spread well beyond Italy. NYT World reported this. A federal court struck down a major gun law last week. The Justice Department has not yet filed an appeal. That silence is making gun control groups nervous. Second Amendment supporters are reading it differently. They're hoping the Trump administration has decided to let the ruling stand. The deadline to appeal hasn't passed yet, but each day without action raises questions about what the DOJ plans to do. The case could reshape firearms regulations across the country. For now, both sides are watching and waiting to see if the government will fight the decision or walk away from it. The Hill reported this.
The administration has not yet appealed the firearms ruling from last week. Gun control groups are worried. Second Amendment groups are waiting. That is in the United States. In Australia, a former Catholic bishop has been convicted of sexual abuse.
A Liberal frontbencher says low-income Australians should accept substandard homes. The comment came during debate over housing standards. Another Liberal frontbencher suggested some Australians could simply put on a jumper in winter rather than push for stricter housing requirements. The remarks touch on a broader argument about minimum standards for rental properties and social housing across the country. SBS Australia reported this. A former Catholic bishop in Australia has been convicted of sexual abuse. A court found Christopher Allen Saunders guilty of abusing two men. Saunders had been the Bishop of Broome, in Western Australia. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation reported the verdict. The case adds to the long history of abuse scandals that have plagued the Catholic Church in Australia and around the world. NYT World reported this. Football's governing body is facing fresh turmoil. The Football Association of Ireland has withdrawn its support for Gianni Infantino. He's the head of FIFA, which runs the sport worldwide. The Irish decision comes as a crisis continues to engulf the organisation, but the Republic's neighbours in Northern Ireland have not followed suit. Their football association is still backing Infantino. The split between the two Irish bodies is unusual. They often coordinate on matters affecting the game across the island. This time they've gone separate ways. The wider crisis at FIFA shows no sign of ending. The Irish withdrawal adds to the pressure on Infantino's leadership. Independent Football reported this. Electrons can sometimes stop moving around freely and lock themselves into a crystal pattern. Scientists call this a Wigner crystal, and it's one of the strangest states that matter can take. Physicists have now found a new way to look inside these crystals and see what's happening. They shone light on the electrons to reveal their hidden motion. The breakthrough lets researchers peer into something that has been extremely difficult to study until now. These electron crystals exist only under very specific conditions, which has made them elusive to observe. The discovery gives scientists a fresh tool for understanding how particles behave when they organize themselves in unusual ways. Science Daily reported this. A football pitch in Spain has been hit by a suspected fungus outbreak. The problem has been reported at Estadio de Balados, home ground of Celta Vigo. La Liga officials will now carry out an inspection of the playing surface. The league wants to assess the extent of the damage. Fungus can make a pitch dangerous for players and difficult to play on. It spreads quickly if left untreated. Celta Vigo compete in Spain's top division. The club has not said how the outbreak started or how much of the pitch has been affected. My Joy Sport reported this.